Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 p.m., and I would like to call to order this meeting of the Princeton Independent School District Board of Trustees on June the 12th, 2024, and announce that a quorum of the board members is present. The meeting was duly called and has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. Now we will honor our flags. Would you please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Now we'll have our invocation, if you'll bow. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come to you now in humble adoration, seeking wisdom, direction, and discernment for our children and our school district, and how best to educate and protect these that you have placed in our oversight. Lord, you know our hearts are to serve you and serve others in love. Please guide us in the decisions we make. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Next, we'll have public comments, and I'd like to read our comment about it. Any person wishing to address the board during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard in accordance with District Policy BED Local. The board is authorized to make reasonable limitations and regulations governing public comment. As such, tonight, because the participants exceed 10, each participant will receive 2 minutes to speak. The board will discuss agenda items later in the meeting during consideration. The board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The board has adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure, at the lowest possible administrative level, a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns. Each of these processes provides that, if a resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal the administrative decision to the board as a properly posted agenda item. For further information on these policies, please contact the administration office. Speakers during the public comment period are responsible for the words they speak during public comment and will be solely liable for any damages if it is later determined that the words spoken injures a person's reputation, exposes the person to public hatred, contempt, ridicule, or causes financial injury. Under Texas law, PISD is immune from any claims for defamation. Anyone that wishes to address the public, you need to state your name once again at the microphone and also your address, please. Please don't forget that. I'll be calling you out in the order that you signed up. First speaker will be John Montez.
Good evening. My name is John Montez from Addie Lane in McKinney, Texas. Can I start? All right. Yes, I'm a member of Citizens Defending Freedom. I'm also a parent, a concerned citizen, and I want to thank the Princeton ISD board members for standing up for our children and protecting our children from a group of bullies leading an assault on the school district and the community. There's no discretion nor respectful nor tasteful standards employed by this group once they're given an opportunity to showcase what they like to promote to children on school property. Moreover, they've demonstrated by their own actions they're incapable of following reasonable and appropriate standards and policies when using school property. Based on their own actions, they should be banned from using school property, and thank heavens, Princeton ISD is taking a stand and keep standing up for our kids and protecting them. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Lee Moore.
Hi, my name's Lee Moore from Fairview, Texas. and I'm a department lead for Citizens Defending Freedom here in Collin County. And I'm here tonight to first of all say thank you to PISD for standing firm, for following your rules put in place to protect the students. In today's chaotic world, it's not easy and downright uncomfortable to stand your ground when making a decision, knowing it's going to result in drawing attention from the squeaky wheels. The PISD community is so blessed to have a board that puts the value of protecting children first above those squeaky wheels, as you were elected to do. So why do we have rules? Rules create order out of chaos. Although you might want to be able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, you probably wouldn't want the same absence of rules to apply to everyone else. In a civilized society, one doesn't get to pick which rules you get to follow and which ones you don't. In the case before the board today, the rules broken were put in place to protect the children, and the consequences for breaking the rules were spelled out before the event took place. A person or group does not get to distribute sexually explicit or obscene material to children on the school grounds. Additionally, a person or group does not get to misrepresent themselves by getting another group to rent at an event this year as a front to allow them to again break the rules. If the group here today with the grievance didn't like, agree with, or even felt the rules for PISD had in place were unfair, then you should have worked them out to determine what could have been done, if anything, to change the rules. One thing for sure is that they do not get to ignore and break the rules like they did just to get their way. Working within the rules to change the rules is something legislators and civilized people do every day all over the world. Our children should not be sexualized or imposed upon them any adult content that would take away their innocence. It's our job as parents and adults and the PISD board to make sure that we protect those young minds. So again, thank you, PISD, for protecting our kids.
Our next speaker will be Karen Rotel.
Good evening, school board, attendees. My name is Karen Rotley. I'm from 1103
Sorry.
Rainforest. Can you hear me?
I said I'm sorry, mispronounced your name.
I kept having to ask my husband, how do we say that? So I really want to thank the school board here for creating a standard for facility use and holding all groups to the same standards of use. That is what is considered as equality. No one gets special treatment. We all follow the same rules. And also, by following the same rules, this equal treatment creates trust and confidence in the school board, in Princeton School Board. Parents will trust and have confidence in the rules that everyone will be following them. Again, I want to say thank you for holding fast.
Our next speaker will be Sue Silver.
Good evening. My name is Sue Silver from McKinney. And as a lifelong public school educator with a master's degree in education, I so appreciate the opportunity to address the Princeton ISD Board of Trustees. First, let me commend the Princeton Board in general for being one of the very few school boards in Collin County that is taking a stand against the cultural norm these days. I totally support the Princeton ISD Board's courageous actions to protect Princeton kids and for keeping the focus on an education that focuses on the essential subjects that students need. Second, I commend the Princeton ISD Board specifically for standing firm in regard to rules set forth for the use of school property. Third, I want to encourage the Princeton School Board to continue your fight to protect Princeton kids against any and all threats. As a California refugee and a proud Texan for the last 3.5 years, I'm fortunate to be able to be here in Texas, where education and the protection of minors is valued most. May you continue to protect and serve Princeton Public School students and parents. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Our next speaker will be Paula Cheek.
Good evening. I'm Paula Cheek from Allen. I want to thank the board's supporting your own policies about facilities use and your focus on protecting Princeton kids. Thank you for standing on the side that is for kids, their innocence, and protecting their hearts and minds from being subjected to behaviors, books, or any other inappropriate matters. You are the gold standard for other school districts in Texas in their policy-making decisions, and thank you for letting me speak.
Our next speaker is Elizabeth Brown.
My name is Elizabeth Brown, and I live here in Princeton, Texas. I first would like to thank the board for their decision regarding the Title IX issue on Monday. If I was to go above the speed limit while driving and get caught, I would expect the officer that pulled me over to give me a ticket. As adults, we should know that every decision we make has either positive consequences or negative consequences. When somebody or group has broken the rules on multiple occasions, it is hard for me to understand how one would think that there wouldn't be any consequences, especially after knowingly going over the rules with a school administrator. These rules have not only been broken on public school property, but also at city events while on public school properties. I am concerned that an adult and group would think that it's okay to give extremely sexualized content to a minor at these said events. I ask that the board and the ACLU to consider all the facts to protect all of our children from harmful sexual literature and content. Please also note that I do not feel comfortable bringing my own children to the events where this group is due to their pervasive acts towards minors. While one might think that I do not like people who identify as LGBTQIA, I have family members and friends who are a part of this community, who I love very deeply. The members who identify as a part of this community have the same rights as my children, not more or less, the same. They also have to follow the same rules. As an adult, you get to marry who you want to marry, and I married who I wanted to marry. We should have the same rights, not more, not less. My rights don't end where yours begin. Therefore, we are all subjected to the same rules, whether it be speeding
that
or
is time,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Liz.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Charlize Lee.
Hi, I'm Charlize Lee. I actually live in Princeton, and I was not paid to be here. It was a night like any other. I'd been talking with Kaylee at dinner time. I'd said good night and I love you before I headed to bed. I didn't know that it would be the last time I'd ever felt her hug or hear I love you, Mama, in her voice. At about 11:57, my dad slammed open the bedroom door, yelling at me to call the ambulance because Kaylee had hung herself in the front yard. At 11:58, I was running out the door, already on the phone. I barely had time to take in the sight of my baby girl laying on the ground in front of me, dead, before I started CPR. It felt like the world was standing still and I was stuck in a loop. 20 minutes straight, I performed CPR on my baby. I let Dad take over compressions as I heard the ambulance getting close. The EMTs took over. We had gotten her heartbeat back, but she wasn't breathing by herself. Sitting at Kaylee's side in the ICU, I knew I had big decisions to make. If we were lucky enough to get her back, she would have severe brain damage and no quality of life. I called Dad, and through my sobs, I told him that I wanted to donate Kaylee's organs and have her cremated so we could bring her home. For 3 days straight, I stayed by her bedside praying for a miracle. They pronounced her death at 10:31 on December 10th. I still have nightmares. I still see her body on the ground in front of me every time I close my eyes. I still cry every day. I'm not okay. Maybe I'll never be okay again. I'll never stop missing my baby girl. I'll never stop fighting for justice for her. I'll never stop pushing for an end to bullying. I'll never stop loving her. Ricky Squires lost her baby at 14 years old on December 6, 2023.
I'm so sorry. Our next speaker is Alam, and I'm sorry if I mess up your last name. Vayapun? You can correct me on the microphone.
Yeah, my name is Ilamurugu Vayyapuri. Is it okay if I speak in my native language of Tamil? Do we have translators to help? Okay,
We
so
don't.
I'll continue in English, which is not convenient for me.
I'm sorry.
So my name is Ilamurugu Vayyapuri. You can call me Elam, no pronouns, please.
Do you live in Princeton? Or what is your address? Where do you live?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My address is 903 Egret Street, Princeton, Texas.
Princeton, okay.
Probably the first address that you got in full. Everyone else was giving partial
Thank you.
address. Maybe some of them were bussed in, I don't know. That is very common in where I grew up. So bussing in people to promote their cause. So we did 2 times facility update. We hired an attorney as well. Is it not working? Why are we here today? ACLU, I want to sit with them, but beside me, not opposite to me. Today they are opposite to me. I want them to sit with me, maybe in the 4th of July celebration. So if the attorney did not help you in forming the proper facility use policy that can be followed, we need to let go the attorney and make a good policy going forward so that we don't have to be sitting in such meetings. Second is the decision. Was it independent by the signatory? I don't think so. So if any of you have influenced, you answer for yourself. I am not going to answer for you. Thank you for the time. Thank you.
Next is Alina Rotreat. Treat, okay. Sorry.
Not a problem. I'm new to Princeton, but I am a resident and a voter and a lifetime educator in Texas, lifetime certified. I have a PhD in curriculum and instruction, a master's degree in gifted education, a bachelor's degree in elementary education with a minor in interpreting for the deaf, so I have a broad range of experience. I wanted to tell you that what you're doing with this decision, if it goes the wrong way, if it goes against this group, is you are creating psychological harm, because over 86% of students hear homophobic remarks on a daily basis, and the majority of them are retaliated upon physically, usually out of the sight of adults. There's a high rate of suicide and depression, and you just heard about one of them just a few minutes ago. We need justice for Kaylee. So Princeton Diverse has been with this group, has been working with this school district since 2020. Now what they brought in, they called them banned books, but that was only because they are banned in lots of other places. Princeton ISD is not banned books. But what they are doing is forbidding them from having certain books now, which I don't know is the same thing or not. But they're also approving a group that gives out Bibles. Now, talk about rules broken, talk about special treatment. We need equal treatment. Okay, and I wanted you to, I thank you for your courageous actions, and I hope that you stand up and do what's right for our kids. Focus on what students need, all students need, not just heterosexual students. Save their lives.
Next is Jackie Garza.
Hello, I'm Jackie Garza from Princeton, Texas, and I just recently attended the Princeton Onion Festival at Princeton High School. There were at least 3 vendors there handing out Bibles. I don't agree with the Bible. It doesn't align with my beliefs, but I didn't go out of my way to see them banned from the festival. There's no legitimate justification for Princeton ISD to prohibit Princeton, Texas diverse. The mere presence of all of us here in disagreement should make it clear to you that our individual beliefs don't match up, and as a result, you should not have the authority to limit a group based on their different life paths. This situation compels us to address the gray areas. This shows that Princeton ISD is not a safe place for our children, shows a lack of dedication to diversity and inclusion, and sends a message to students that being different in any way means that you're not welcome. This school board needs to do better.
And next is Reverend Nan Baker.
Hello, my name is Nan Baker. I live in Dallas, but I have participated in many activities here in Princeton. I am an ordained minister. I am a many-year counselor and therapist for adolescents, and I am a mother and a grandmother. And my concern today is that the school creates a culture and an environment where all children are safe. I would agree with many of the other speakers who have said that nothing is more important than the safety of our kids. And I believe that part of that safety is in providing an environment in which each kid is able to express the person that they know themselves to be in safety. And with that as a guiding principle, I hope that a more inclusive policy is adopted by the school district for the sake of the kids.
Next will be Mike Keating.
I wanted to come here tonight to speak in favor of PTX Diverse. I live here in Princeton, and my address is 705 Rawhide Way. When I first moved here with my wife in 2020, we found comfort and friendship with those at PTX Diverse. And I don't see any of the grooming or the sexualization of children and minors that some others have talked about. But what I do see is a community that supports everyone. And I'm asking the board tonight to reconsider restoring Princeton, Texas Diverse, and John and Charlize to the former status that they held with PISD. That's pretty much all I have to say, and I just hope you'll reconsider. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cynthia Brugge.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Brugge. I live in Fairview, Texas. My address is 960 Patrician Court. I came tonight because I have a concern about a lot of things, trends that have occurred in our society that make us believe that it's okay for us to expose children, to things that they're not ready for. If they had brought alcohol and were serving alcohol to our children, they may not see anything wrong with that because they like alcohol and they want to serve alcohol. But like I want a T-shirt that says, don't watch porn and don't look at it. That sounds ridiculous, but I think that people get triggered, by things that they look at. If the school district chooses to have rules about the kinds of material that is exposed to the children or adults, I don't necessarily want to look at it either, then they have every right to do that. It's their property. And even if we're paying taxes on it, it's been here for the purpose of educating our children, not providing social events that work against what we believe as a culture or a society our kids are not ready for. We're not judging what you're doing as adults. What we're asking you to do is to reserve the things that you would be doing for adults, not for children. And we ask the board to please consider continuing with these regulations and rules for the protection not only of our children but of our society as a whole. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Robert Cainwright.
Honorable members of the board, thank you for allowing us a chance to speak. I have, over the years, supervised employees. And
Robert, would you tell us where you're from, please?
Yes, I am from Plano.
Thank you.
Okay. I have, over the years, supervised employees, and normally if an employee makes a mistake and you point it out to them, most of the time they'll say, sorry, I'll do better next time. What can I do to correct it? Every so often you find a person who whines and says it's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault, it's your fault. It's your fault because I messed up because you didn't train me well enough. This tonight, it sounds like it's a lot of whining for people who broke rules and are not willing to say, I broke the rules, we'll do better next time. So I would urge you to stay firm, avoid knuckling under to pressure from ACLU, which is famous for, they have not done always good things. So I would recommend you stay firm. Remember that everybody needs to follow the rules, and people can't turn around and say, but we have all these extenuating circumstances. Forgive us for breaking the rules because we have this, that, or the other in our background, on our minds, and so forth. It's all smoke and mirrors. It is a distraction. It is unnecessary and does not contribute. I'll point out one of the things that the ACLU, to my understanding, wants is for you guys to change the training of your teachers. Well, wait a minute. Political indoctrination of your teachers should not be on the table. Your teachers should be trained to improve in mathematics and rhetoric and things that do good for your students, not to politically indoctrinate them. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Daryl Evans.
Hello. My name is Daryl Evans. I live in Lowry Crossing. I'm running for Texas State House District 89. So some of you all actually have a reasonable choice this cycle. So make sure you come check me out there. Weaponized incompetence. Weaponized incompetence is when you don't know any better, when you don't know what you're doing. And these folks know exactly what they're doing. Their actions are counter to the Constitution. It's counter to the spirit of education. And they should be focused on educating our kids, funding our teachers, paying our teachers better. They should be focused on education and not focused on their pet projects and an end around to defund your schools. So when these type of things come around, these red herrings, they're trying to defund your schools. And they're trying to close schools all over this state, and they're coming for your schools with vouchers, and they're coming for your schools with this type of stuff. Never once have they spoken about what they're going to do for y'all. It's what they're going to take away. They want to ban books. They want to do these type of things that are, again, pet projects for national politics, not local issues that are here to educate our youth. So if they cared about kids, this wouldn't be on the agenda, this wouldn't have come up, and they wouldn't be trying to take our rights away. So stand up for the Constitution and do the right thing. Thank you.
And our next speaker will be Liz Michael.
Hello, my name is Liz Michelle. I live at 6205 Eaglestone Drive, and I'm also a former educator. I'm here today to address the facility use discrimination being perpetrated on the LGBTQIA+ community here in Princeton. What has happened here in Princeton is blatant discrimination. To selectively punish groups that you may not agree with is a direct violation of the First Amendment. I heard many speakers before me talk about following rules, and they all apply to all groups. And the supreme rule, the Constitution, also sets a set of rules that apply to all. So whether you like it or not, we do have the same rights as you. There was also a lot of fear-mongering about our children. Nothing PTX Diverse or Color Splash does is during school hours. So guess what? Your children don't have to attend the event. What it may really be is that you just don't want to have the hard conversation with your kids about going to church on Sunday and loving thy neighbor, but Monday through Saturday calling them bullies or sexual predators. That's a hard conversation. How do you justify that? I also want to urge this board to hold the grievance session in public and not behind closed doors in secret. There are no minors' names being discussed, no employees' actions being discussed, and there's no reason to hold this behind closed doors in secret. And if anyone is still confused as to why we need a Pride Month, now you know. We aren't going anywhere, we'll just get louder and prouder.
Thank you so much for taking the time to let the board know your thoughts. We appreciate you. Next, we are going to agenda item number 5. So at this time, members of the board will move to agenda item 5, which is to hear and consider the level 3 grievances filed by Princeton Texas Diverse, John Custerbeck, and the grievance filed by Color Splashout. Pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, which is commonly known as the Texas Open Meetings Act, members of the board will adjourn to closed session to consult with the board's attorney regarding the process and procedures for the Level 3 grievance hearing. I now need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
John made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Dwayne seconded. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion passes. The time is 7:34. Is that right? Welcome. My name is Cindy Darland. I'm the president of the board. For the record, today is June 12th, 2024. The time is 8:27. The board is convened in open meeting for the purpose of hearing a Level 3 grievance hearing brought forward by Princeton, Texas Diverse and John Custerbeck in accordance with the board policies GF Legal and GF Local. This proceeding will be transcribed to ensure that an accurate record is kept. Of course, this includes the portion of the proceedings in which the complainant and the administration present their statements. The board's consultation with its attorney will not be recorded. The parties are asked not to record the meeting. To confirm, is either party recording at this time? Thank you. For the record, each person is asked to state their name, reason for attendance, and relationship to the complainant if applicable. We will start with the board members. Each person will speak their name and how you are possibly in relationship to the complainant and your reasons for attendance. Okay? John, you want to start?
My name is John Campbell. My name is John Campbell. I'm a school board trustee.
Julia Schmoker, school board trustee and secretary.
Dwayne Kelly, school board trustee, vice president.
Cindy Darland, school board president.
I'm Tim Davis. I'm counsel to the board of trustees.
Carlos Cuellar, school board trustee.
Starla Sharp, school board trustee.
Now we'll ask the council to admit to.
My name is Lucas Henry. I'm the attorney for the Princeton ISD administration. I have here with me Superintendent McIntyre and also co-counsel Nick Wilson.
Good evening. My name is Brian Klosterboer with the ACLU of Texas, representing PTX Diverse, Mr. John Kusterbeck, Ms. Charlize Lee, and I'm also joined by other attorneys, Sherelle Lett and Chloe.
Thank you. Did we get all the parties and their representatives introduced properly? Okay, thank you. At this time, I remind all participants to please avoid talking when another person is speaking, so that the transcript will accurately reflect the proceedings. Further, please endeavor to make your oral statements as clear and complete as possible. Remember that the transcription will not reflect gestures or any other form of verbal communication. All persons present in the boardroom are reminded that this is a public meeting. Outbursts or disturbances of any kind will not be tolerated. As a presiding officer, I will remove any person who disturbs the business of the board. This hearing will be conducted as an administrative presentation in accordance with applicable policies and laws. In accordance with the board policy GF Local, the hearing will be limited to the issues and documents submitted prior to the hearing. No new evidence, appeal issues, or relief shall be presented. This is not a formal legal proceeding, and no strict rules of evidence or procedure will apply. Given the allegations against the superintendent, the board chose to advance this matter to a Level 3 hearing pursuant to board policy GF Legal and GF Local. Each party will have an opportunity to make its presentation to the board. The parties will not be permitted to cross-examine each other. There will be an opportunity for the members of the board to ask questions of counsel, the parties, or any witnesses. However, the members of the board are not subject to questioning. Consistent with board policy, GF Local, Princeton, Texas Diverse, and Mr. Custerbeck will present their argument based on the record first. This presentation will be followed by the administration side. Both the complainants and the administration will be allocated 20 minutes each to make their presentations. We will then close that portion of the hearing at that time. I remind all parties that simply because time is afforded does not mean it has to be used. The board appreciates brevity in presentations. If during the course of the hearing, confidential personal information under Chapter 21 of the Texas Education Code is presented to the board, those individuals who are not entitled to access the information will be excused from the hearing for the presentation. I would ask that the parties and the board attempt to keep any references to confidential personal information until the conclusion of the hearing so that the board can minimize the number of times it is required to excuse participants from the meeting. The record will include the presentation of the personnel information of the board and, if requested, will be redacted as required by law. Do the parties have any questions regarding this procedure? Now that we have reviewed the procedures for the hearing, it is time to determine the qualifications of the board members to hear and consider this matter. If any member of the board feels that he or she cannot hear or consider this matter, the board member should so state at this time and not participate in the hearing. Let the record reflect that each member of the board present has indicated that he or she can consider the information presented at this hearing and make a decision in a fair and impartial manner. Members of the board, I'm going to ask that you hold your questions, if any, until the conclusion of the presentation by both sides. Mr. Kusterbeck, who will be making the presentation on your behalf and on behalf of Princeton, Texas Diverse? Thank you. You will have 20 minutes to make your presentation to the board. Do you want to reserve a portion of your allotted time for any rebuttal? Yes. Okay. The Secretary of the Board of Trustees will keep time and will indicate to you when you have approximately 1 minute left in your requested minutes for rebuttal. How many minutes did you want for rebuttal?
5 minute warning.
5 minutes?
How much does he want to say for
Was that for rebuttal? I'm sorry.
Yes, say 4 minutes for rebuttal, so 5 minutes.
I'll give you a 5 minute warning.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. You may proceed with your presentation at this time.
Good evening, trustees and everyone who's here. My name is Brian Klosterboer. I'm the attorney for Mr. Kusterbeck, Ms. Lee, and PTX Diverse. We are here tonight with a very simple request, that you treat PTX Diverse and its members the same as all other groups that use school district property. There are 3 consolidated complaints before you on behalf of Mr. Kusterbeck, Ms. Lee, and PTX Diverse. These complaints show a pattern that their group has been treated differently and in discrimination and retaliation based on their speech and their points of views. We know that the building that we're in now and school district property is used by many groups in this community. Indeed, these facilities are home to sports clubs, theater groups, Boys and Girl Scout clubs, cherished community events, and religious worship services. The First Amendment protects all of these activities, just like it protects the LGBTQIA+ community, just like it protects PTX Diverse and the complainants. Many people here tonight in public comment express their views that groups should be treated equally. And the over 200 pages in the record before you shows that PTX Diverse has been treated differently, that they have been punished and not been given an opportunity to fix any concerns by the district. And an email from your very own superintendent to all of you on the board that's included in the record explains how many church groups in the community that host religious worship services here they had not included any disclaimer on any of their advertising materials, such as billboards, their website, social media. And the superintendent called them to give them a second chance, to tell them to please start including that disclaimer to say that the school district is not sponsoring your event. PTX Diverse was not given a second chance. They never got a phone call. They were immediately and permanently banned from ever accessing school district facilities. That is pure and simple discrimination, and as I'll talk about later, it's also retaliation. The district is doubly exposing itself to legal liability. Before we get into more of the particulars of the grievances, I wanted to briefly mention the relief that we're asking for. We're asking the district to restore PTX Diverse and its founders' ability to be vendors and to rent campus facilities. We're also asking the board to apologize for the disparate treatment of this group. And finally, we're asking that you restore your facilities rental discount to benefit the entire community. As many of you know, this has been a months and years-long saga where the school district has been targeting PTX Diverse and changing its rental and facilities policies in ways that actually hurt many different community groups beyond just this one group. And that's why the First Amendment is so important. It protects all of our right to speak, to express ourselves, and to access government and public property. We're asking you tonight to uphold these constitutional rights that all of us hold dear, the same freedoms that allow church groups to come here and worship and express their beliefs also protect PTX Diverse. And if we betray any of those principles that our Constitution requires, it ultimately hurts all of us. I'd like to invite Mr. Kusterbeck to come explain more about PTX Diverse.
Hello. Basically, our group's mission centers around promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Princeton community. Some of our main goals include advocating for marginalized groups, raising awareness about issues related to diversity, organizing events that celebrate different cultures and identities, and fostering a sense of belonging for all residents regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or other characteristics. The critical importance of a Pride organization in the broader community cannot be overstated. Pride organizations play a critical role in advocating for the rights and visibility of LGBTQ+ individuals. In many places, including smaller towns like Princeton, LGBTQ+ people face discrimination, lack of acceptance, and even violence. An organization like ours provides a safe space for LGBTQ+ individuals to come together, find support, and organize efforts to combat prejudice and discrimination. Moreover, Pride organizations contribute to the broader community by promoting understanding, acceptance, and celebration of diversity. They often organize events such as Pride parades or events, workshops, and educational programs that not only empower individuals but also educate the wider community about LGBTQ+ individual or issues and foster a more inclusive environment for everyone. In essence, Princeton, Texas Diverse and other Pride organizations serve as catalysts for positive social change, advocating for equality, justice, and respect for all individuals regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity.
Thank you so much. So as you know, and you can see from the grievance letter that we submitted, there are really two main incidents, two letters that the district sent through the superintendent to PTX Diverse that are discriminatory and retaliatory. The first concerns the Onion Festival that was held on April 20th of this year. As we heard, even in public comment, there are many different vendors and groups who go to the Onion Festival. PTX Diverse had a booth and a coloring competition. As prizes, they gave out gift baskets that included books in them. They called these books banned books because these books have been banned in many parts of the world or throughout history, but they are not currently banned in PISD. We actually submitted a public information request and found that there are no books that are banned in this district. It's just a term that people call them, banned books. You often see them at libraries. Many of these same books are here in the school libraries, even on campus. So there was nothing wrong with what PTX Diverse was doing. Even in the letter that the district sent, they were accused of violating school district policies, but there was no policy actually mentioned in that letter. There were other groups at this same event passing out Bibles. As we know, the Bible is and has been banned in other parts of the world. There are actually school districts, even here in Texas, that have also banned the Bible in their libraries. But those groups were not given any warning. They were not accused of violating school rules. Only PTX Diverse was being punished. The other reason that they're allegedly being punished and are banned from renting facilities, which was reaffirmed in the recent letter from the district, was that last June, PTX Diverse held a Pride event here in this very building that was very successful. They followed all of the school policies, all of the facilities use guidelines, and after the event was over, they posted on Facebook thanking people for attending. They also thanked the school board president, who was in attendance, for being there. Posting on Facebook, as they do, if you look at their Facebook, they have had many disclaimers, as they're required to do, saying that their event was not sponsored by the district. But in that one particular Facebook post, that one thank you message, they had no disclaimer. So over 2 months after they posted on Facebook, after they had a successful event following all school rules and guidelines, they were surprised to get a letter from the superintendent and be informed via phone call from the superintendent that they had now been permanently banned from ever hosting events on campus again, allegedly because they failed to include a disclaimer in that one particular Facebook post. So the grievances before you tonight, we have pictures and pictures of other groups. There is a sports basketball league. They have an entire website talking about how they host events here on district property. They have no disclaimer that their events are not sponsored by the district. There are church groups that have religious worship services. They have entire websites, billboards, social media event pages that have no disclaimer whatsoever. So PTX Diverse went above and beyond to try to follow the letter and the spirit of your all's rule that they're required to include a disclaimer. They included that disclaimer everywhere except for that one post. The Constitution allows school districts to have rules about facilities use policies, but those rules are required to be reasonable and viewpoint neutral. And here, the district has failed both of those tests. It's not reasonable to punish just one group, and it's not reasonable to require them to include the disclaimer in every single Facebook post or message about the event. I mean, the district could try to do that, but it's also not viewpoint neutral to only punish PTX Diverse from doing that. There's also an email that I mentioned, which is in your all's packet, that the superintendent sent to each of you, explaining that after PTX Diverse pointed out some of the advertising materials from other groups that had no disclaimer, the superintendent wrote to each of you saying that he had called and contacted the church groups and told them, quote, to start including the disclaimer. So the district has already kind of admitted legal liability and said, we know that these other groups are not including any disclaimer, and we're only punishing this one group for allegedly failing to include a disclaimer in this one particular post. That is both unreasonable and not viewpoint neutral. The district is also exposing itself to liability for retaliating against PTX Diverse for its speech. So these are two separate but also related types of unconstitutional conduct under the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects groups and individuals from being retaliated against based on their speech. The Supreme Court has long found that posting online, especially, is a form of constitutionally protected speech, and distributing literature, distributing the Bible, distributing other books, that is also constitutionally protected speech. So here the district has retaliated against PTX Diverse explicitly and is punishing them based on their speech. We urge you to immediately reverse your decisions and to simply treat PTX Diverse like other groups. We're not asking for any special rules or standards, simply that you enforce and apply your policies neutrally and reasonably. And I'll reserve the rest of our time for rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you. Who will be making the presentation on behalf of the administration?
Thank you. My name is Lucas Henry, and I will present on behalf of the Princeton ISD administration.
Thank you. You have 20 minutes to make your presentation on behalf of the administration. Do you wish to reserve a portion of your allotted time for any rebuttal?
No, thank you. I'll be brief with my remarks.
Thank you.
To be clear, I represent the Princeton ISD administration in these grievances brought by Mr. Kusterbeck, Princeton TX Diverse, with regard to the facilities use policy. And the school board tonight acts as the decision maker. They're here to hear the facts, hear the arguments, and then they make the decision after consideration. You heard from the prior presenter what their complaints were, and you heard about the relief that they requested. But I want to be clear that this is not a case of prejudice or discrimination or retaliation against any particular group or viewpoint. This is an example of neutral enforcement of this board's policies. Facilities use policies that apply to everyone and apply to everyone equally.
Board Policy GKD regulation, which is included as Exhibit 13 in your hearing exhibit binder, was duly passed by this school board after much debate and consideration of input from the community. This regulation outlines the rules that lessees must follow when renting district facilities. The complainants in this grievance agreed to this policy and acknowledged receipt of it, and that is included in Exhibit 15 within your hearing binder. In the letter that the complainants received that established the consequence for not following the policy, contrary to what the prior presentation stated, the letter did cite to GKD regulation as the basis for the decision that was made in this case. Rule number 19 in GKD regulation states that any and all communications with the public by the lessee shall clearly state the event is not sponsored by the district, as well as identify the nature of the activity and the sponsoring organization. And the second rule that's applicable to tonight's conversation is rule number 31, which states that reservations may be canceled, revoked, and or denied in the future if the district determines that lessees and or their attendees are not in compliance with the rules. All limitations outlined in this policy will be applied in a viewpoint-neutral, non-discriminatory manner. Conduct expectations include, but are not limited to, and I'm reading from Part E, lessees, their invitees, and or vendors may not engage in the following activities and or distribute materials in violation of the following restrictions while in or on district facilities. Part 5 talks about obscenity. The activities and or materials are obscene if they meet the definition of Texas Penal Code, Chapter 43. And the last is on part of this regulation is about vulgarity. Activities or materials are obscene, vulgar, or otherwise inappropriate for the age and maturity of the audience are also prohibited. And again, at the bottom of GKD regulation, it reiterates the consequence, and it says failure to comply with any of the provisions outlined herein may result in the cancellation of a rental, revocation of a rental, or denial of future rentals. So the rules were clear, and the consequences were clear. Complainants hosted an event on district property, and they plan to host more in the future. They engaged in two actions that the administration believes ran afoul of policy GKD regulation. One of those actions was to publish a Facebook post about their event that failed to include the disclaimer. That post is reprinted in the complainant's complaint on page 5, which is Exhibit 6 in your binder. It not only failed to include the disclaimer, but it actually did the opposite. It stated that the board president, it thanked the board president for supporting the event. So instead of disclaiming sponsorship by the school district, it did the opposite of what the policy requires, and it stated that there was approval of the event. Importantly, and contrary to the presentation that was made, this post was made after Superintendent McIntyre met with Mr. Kusterbeck in his office and reminded him of the disclaimer requirement. So the complainants here did indeed get the second chance that is being requested. The second action by the complainants that runs afoul of the policy occurred at the Onion Festival. Complainants distributed prizes for a coloring contest. Among the prizes were books that complainants referred to as banned books. This was the term that complainants used, not the school district. And complainants are correct. There is no list of banned books at the school district. However, the district does have processes and procedures to ensure that students only have access to appropriate materials, and policy GKD regulation specifies that obscene or vulgar materials are not allowed at events. The books that were distributed that are in question tonight are called It's Perfectly Normal by Robbie H. Harris and Looking for Alaska by John Green. The administration did not seek out to discover that these had been distributed. The administration responded to complaints. The first book is a sex education book. It contains drawings of naked people having sexual intercourse, a girl masturbating, and a boy masturbating. It contains explicit descriptions of sexual intercourse that go beyond what one would expect in a health class type setting. Exhibit 11 in your binder contains information that the administration obtained from a Parents Guide website that contains an explanation of explicitly what was in that particular book and the next book that I'm going to talk about. So I'm not going to read excerpts from them, but I'll let you know that if you want to, those are in there in Exhibit 11. The second book, I will say that the grievance states that particular book that contained the pictures that I described was in a basket intended for children to win who were ages 11 to 17. The next book was Looking for Alaska by John Green. It's a fictional novel, a coming-of-age type story. It includes numerous graphic descriptions of pornography and sex between minors, numerous description of minors using drugs, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, and watching pornography together. Very explicit passages are posted in Exhibit 11 in your binder. The administration determined that this was a violation of the vulgarity and age appropriateness parts of the facilities use policy, GKD regulation. Again, even though books are not banned at the school district, there are standards. You have enacted a library standards policy, for example. As a result of these violations, Superintendent McIntyre implemented the consequences set forth in the regulation, including the inability of these complainants to utilize district facilities in this manner in the future. You heard complaints from the complainants about churches that were treated more favorably than religious organizations who also rented district facilities. This argument is flawed for two reasons. First, it's factually incorrect. When Superintendent McIntyre approached these religious groups about their lack of disclaimers on their posts, they brought their communications into compliance. For example, if you look in Exhibit 9 on the last page, Heart and Soul Church, the website is in compliance. Exhibit 10 shows the National Day of Prayer event, also in compliance, including the disclaimer. Also notably, the violation by the complainants took place after the meeting in the superintendent's office, whereas these groups appear to at least have intended to come into compliance with the policy. Second reason why these groups are not similarly situated is that these religious organizations do not have a violation of any other part of GKD regulation. For example, the issue with the books and the vulgarity. There's no evidence of First Amendment retaliation in this case. The First Amendment does give complainants the right to express their beliefs, even if those beliefs are unpopular with some. Again, none of the books that were distributed at the Onion Festival were related to LGBT issues in particular. They were related, one was sexual intercourse, and I don't believe I saw anything other than heterosexual references in it, although I didn't read the whole thing. And then the other book, I'm unaware of any references to non-heterosexual intercourse. So this wasn't picking on the point of view of the complainants. The Supreme Court, as the prior presentation stated, has been clear that school districts may impose reasonable regulations on groups that use district facilities. Cases are cited in tab 14 in your policies. Given that this was school property and a school event, and it was the events were intended for minor students, the district applied its reasonable regulations and policies for using school district facilities. Superintendent McIntyre, in this case, simply applied the policy that the board has passed in a manner that he believes is consistent with the policy's language and fits the circumstances that went on here. If the board believes that the policy was incorrectly applied in this circumstance, I would ask that you provide guidance for future applications of this policy, because I believe that Superintendent McIntyre has applied the policy properly in a manner that is consistent with this board's understanding of the law and district rules. And therefore, the administration asks that you deny the complainant's grievances and deny the relief that they request. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kusterbeck, at this time you've reserved approximately 4 minutes for rebuttal. You may make your rebuttal presentation on behalf of the complainants. The board secretary will indicate to you when you have approximately 1 minute remaining in your allotted time. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, and appreciate the time for rebuttal. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things. First, it was mentioned that when we talked about one of the letters failing to mention which school district policy was violated, that was the second letter regarding the Onion Festival. There is no school district policy prohibiting distributing, quote, banned books. As the council mentioned, no books are actually banned by the district. Many of the books, most of the books actually in the baskets are focused on LGBTQ plus issues and anti-racism. Council only picked out 2 books on the list, but other books such as Antango Makes 3, A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo, The Family Book, all deal with LGBTQ issues, and 2 of the books were about anti-racism. It's not clear to us whether the district even looked in the baskets at all before it issued the letter permanently banning PTX Diverse. So that's one question. I know we're not allowed to ask questions ourselves, but one question we have is whether they even knew what these books were. We listed the books in our grievance, so now you all can see for yourselves what the books are, but it's not clear to us whether they actually looked in the baskets. Importantly, the baskets were only given to adults or to young people who had a parent or guardian with them. These books were not given out to any kids without a parent or guardian present. So a parent or guardian was with them and wanted these gift baskets of books. It's Perfectly Normal is a book that's rated for readers ages 9 and up. The so-called pictures that you all have before you are cartoons. They show people in bed with blankets over them. No genitals are shown. These are not graphic, and they certainly don't come close to meeting the Texas legal standards for obscenity or the district policies for vulgarity. This is a book that has sold millions of copies called It's Perfectly Normal. I understand that some parents might not want to show that book to their kid, but many people do, and that is a book that is rated for ages 9 and up. The book Looking for Alaska also is actually in the Princeton ISD library right now. I believe that it's checked out. And so Looking for Alaska is not only not banned in this district, it's a piece of literature that's very renowned, has won many awards, and many parents and guardians want their kids to read those books and have access to them. All of these books we believe are age appropriate. None of them come close to meeting the standards and definitions of obscenity or vulgarity. With regards to the Facebook post, we understand that this Facebook post, which you have before you, it's on page 5 of our grievance, reproduced in full. I'll read the quote. It says, "We'd especially like to thank Princeton ISD School Board President Cindy Darland for coming out and supporting Pride." Before this post was made, the school board president had given interviews to the media being critical of PTX Diverse. We greatly respect the school board president's right to speak her mind to the press, to share her views. She's an elected official, and we also ask that PTX Diverse also be given a right to speak out. This post, to anyone who knows the history, the current political stances in this community, would know that they were being facetious. Political satire has been constitutionally protected since our country's founding. Things like political cartoons. And unfortunately, as elected officials, we understand it's sometimes a tough job. Sometimes people criticize you in ways that are unfair, in ways that are mean, in ways that people might think are funny but are not funny to you or to your families, and we greatly respect that. But when you look at this post, it's clearly political satire, and most people in the community understand that it is not showing that the school board is officially sponsoring this event. It's clearly satirical. And just the last thing briefly, the billboard is actually still out of compliance.
You're out of time.
Today.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
If you look at the billboard, it's still out of compliance. Thank you.
Members of the board, are there any questions we need to address? I want this up there, yeah. Right up there. I've already asked him. Okay, let me pass that down. Can I just tear this off? I want you to ask him.
Is it possible to put some slides up?
Do you have an HDMI port on your?
No. No. It's from the exhibits.
I can do it with this laptop.
Okay.
I will say all the grievance as well as the administration have binders. We gave them binders, so if you need to point to anything for them, maybe that.
I felt like they needed to see it. I want the pictures.
Yeah, tab 11, this one.
So, if you'll take the mouse, you'll have to drag that, try to get just that window and start it off.
So drag that tab up there.
Yes. Once you get to the it's not showing yet. It'll come up with Princeton and ISD when it's there. Couldn't close my email when it's there.
Definitely. Where do I go for that? I don't think it's open. It's just in a separate. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Let me just close the window.
Just close open.
Thanks.
Tim, it's an extend, so when you're ready to go, just whatever you want to do, you'll have to grab and drag it.
Okay, pull it up there.
And I want the ones after that, too.
Yeah, well, we'll do all those.
Just to be clear, there are no children in the room? Can I ask them to leave?
I think so.
Tim, can I ask them to take the child out while we're doing this?
You can, but I think we do you really want to show it?
I do. Should I ask them?
I mean, it's up to it's the parent of the child who wants them to stay. Yeah, that's no concern.
Just to be clear, we're about to show some some slides of pictures in the book that children should not be exposed to. So if you have a child and you'd like to take them out, this is your warning. Yeah, you can. Is it not working?
This is the one you want. Council, the board has forwarded me their questions, and I'm going to try to put them all together in by topic. And everybody has an opportunity to respond on this.
For the benefit of our court reporter, I think it might be easier if we answer questions from the microphone.
Yeah,
Would that be okay?
that'd be great.
Call us up. Thank you.
My first question is on Exhibit 15, which is the regulation. Whose signature is at the top of that? It's probably midway through. There's not page numbers there, but whose signature is that on the top? Okay. Is that correct, sir? That's correct.
Can you repeat it so she can hear?
Yeah. You want everybody to come to the podium? Is that better?
It would be helpful.
Yeah. Can we just do questions at the podium and we'll... Do I have everybody's name? Did you pass it out? Okay, gotcha. Perfect. I'm going to do that one next.
So could you repeat whose signature that was so that she can hear it clearly? Thank you.
That was my signature.
And so I believe this is tab 14, but you will correct me if I'm wrong. Are these pages from this? Thank you. Tab 11. What book are these from?
I have not read this book, but I believe they're from It's Perfectly Normal.
And this one as well?
Yes.
And this one as well?
I believe so. This is the excerpts from the parent's guide that the administration used to evaluate the age appropriateness of the reading materials.
Mm-hmm.
Is it... Is it correct that there's a granted cartoon couple that's shown there completely naked with no covering?
It's hard to say because not everything is exposed, but yes.
Okay. Is part of your review, and this is for both sides, did anybody review this material consistent with the board's EF, EFA, and EFB policies?
It is our position that this material does not violate those policies.
Why is that?
It's a cartoon used in a book rated for ages 9 and up that teaches sexual health, and the laws on obscenity are very clear that if a book especially has a scientific purpose or literary or artistic value, many parents choose to use a book like this, and even school districts have chosen to use this material for sexual education.
And does the district have a position?
I'll answer on behalf of the administration that yes, the term vulgarity and age appropriateness as used in GKD regulation is also a term that is used in EF. And so that's where the administration would look to get those definitions, and also to make a determination based on the fact that it was in a basket for ages 11 to 17 about the age appropriateness of this particular reading material.
The page that has the signature, I'm sorry, is it Custer or
Custerbeck.
Custerbeck's signature on it. Number 3 of that page states, the district reserves the right to cancel this agreement for any reason determined to be in the best interest of the district. The question on this is it in the best interest of the district to have material available that might otherwise not comply with EF, EFA, or EFB?
I think the question, too, is whether it's in the best interest of the district to permanently and forever ban this group. If the district did believe that this could have been borderline or raises concerns, they could have simply asked Mr. Custerbeck or PTX Diverse. There's no mention in the letter that the district sent. This book is not named. We don't know if the district even knew about this book until we named it in our own grievance. That's a question that we still have. And if they were concerned about it, they could have simply approached them like they've approached other groups. They were given no warning. They were immediately and forever banned from ever accessing district property.
Also on that one page with the signature, so that was signed before Pride last year. This book, when you sign up to be a vendor at, let's say, that was the Onion Festival, so the Lions Club puts it on. There's nothing in there. They don't give you anything. So whether it's like, if you don't follow everything, you might not know that the policy could change. And as a vendor, I mean, these are two separate issues.
And just to resolve one question, in tab 10, there's a variety of internet posts, and about halfway through, there's a post of a basket with pictures of the books that were in the baskets. It's perfectly normal, and Looking for Alaska are both pictured there. I believe that is how the administration became aware of those particular books being in those baskets. And so, yes, they were aware of those particular books.
And same question about the use policy. Is it in the district's best interest to have material that may not be consistent? We've heard from them. The district have a response on that may not be consistent with its policies.
No, that's the purpose of GKD regulation.
In this same topic, did Princeton Diverse inform the district that they plan to hand out banned books, so-called banned books?
No.
Is that correct?
Anytime we have been a vendor on school district property for any event, the school district has never asked us what we are going to pass out. As far as I know, they've never asked any vendor what they're passing out.
If I could elaborate on that, the administration does not seek out to police these events. The superintendent and administration respond when community members make specific complaints. And so just as a very good example of that, there was earlier raised an issue about a basketball academy that doesn't have the disclaimer. Well, Superintendent McIntyre, frankly, has better things to do than search the web and ensure there's compliance with the rule for absolutely every institution. But he does respond when a community member or a stakeholder makes a complaint. And so when there was a complaint about the churches and their compliance, that's why Superintendent McIntyre went forth and asked the churches to comply. And so I suppose there just hadn't been a request, a complaint, I should say, about that particular basketball camp. So same thing goes with books. The administration's not there reading through absolutely every book that's passed out at every event, but if there's a complaint made, a response is warranted, it occurs.
I think there was some discussion about the books were in a basket. Is that correct at this event?
Yeah, we had 3 different age group baskets, so we made sure all the books were age appropriate.
Were the books, or those baskets removed anytime a district person came by?
No, they were on the table. As soon as we got, when we set everything up, we put them in the bags, made them look pretty, put them on the table.
And they stayed there the whole time?
They were there the entire time until the very end when we texted the people that won the coloring contest.
At what date was Princeton Diverse warned about the disclaimer and the requirement for that?
Oh, are you asking on what date was there a conversation in the superintendent's office?
Correct.
I believe September 28th. I believe in Exhibit 1. I want to make sure I'm correct here. I believe in Exhibit 1, which is the letter, it says, "This letter serves as a follow-up regarding our telephone conversation on September 28th." So I'm not correct. The conversation must have taken place prior to that and then prior to the Facebook post. I'm not sure that we have an exact date for that conversation. Okay, thank you. So it's this June 20th date that's mentioned in the letter.
Mr. Kusterbeck, anything to add there?
We had a long conversation. I remember we had a long conversation, and we actually came to look at the school because they were making us move. And I don't remember a conversation about that policy, but other concerns that people had about our vendors, that was the main thing from that conversation.
You're saying you don't remember a conversation about the disclaimer?
No, I don't remember a part about the disclaimer. I mainly remember about you said people had concerns about the vendors that were going to be there because they were looking at their websites, and I reassured them that there wasn't going to be any issue with that, and the performers as well, how they were dressed. So that's the 2 main things that I remember, and then we came to the school and walked around, and that's all I remember.
Mr. Kusterbeck, were you ever Did you ever adjust any pictures or change any posts as a result of being warned about the disclaimer?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I don't remember ever changing a post or any pictures.
And just to clarify, PTX Diverse was never warned about the Facebook post at issue. They were never asked to change it or warned that it might even come close to violating any rule.
Superintendent McIntyre believes that the organization modified its original posts to be in compliance with the disclaimer rule after the meeting, but not the post that's at issue that's reprinted in the complaint, which, again, of course, came after the conversation.
Does the First Amendment protect untrue statements?
You're asking me about untrue statements? I believe that political satire is is constitutionally protected.
What about untrue statements?
So there is a legal rules about defamation, as the board even mentioned in the intro tonight. There's very specific guidelines and rules for that, which are not even close to being met by the Facebook post at issue here, which is core protected political speech.
I would say some. If I want to go outside and say that the sky is yellow or green, I have the First Amendment right to do so. I think that the question here tonight is whether the policy that was enforced discriminatorily. Was it enforced because of the viewpoint of the speakers? And the administration's position on that is no. That there's nothing wrong with the policy in and of itself, and there's nothing wrong with the way it was applied.
At this event, was there a vendor that was selling a shirt that said, "I'm an organ donor and you definitely want a piece of this"?
Sorry, which event are you talking about?
The Pride event.
No, I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know. And that wasn't the basis for the revocation under the policy. The bases were stated in the letters to the complainants.
Mr. Custerbeck, were any of these conversations with anybody at the district recorded?
Any? Yeah, somewhere.
Okay. Do you have them with you tonight?
I do not, no.
Do you still have them?
Somewhere on probably my old laptop, but...
For the administration, was the board ever informed about being in or out of compliance with respect to these policies, the facilities use policy?
I'm not sure we understand the question. Are you asking if the board was ever informed by the administration about whether these particular complainants had complied with the policies.
Whether they were warned about it.
Yes, I believe some members of the board may have individually been informed that this group had been had a discussion with them.
Can I ask to clarify? Are you saying the board of trustees, or are you talking about the board of PTX Diverse?
Trustees. Mr. McIntyre, do you have a recollection of any recording that Mr. Kusterbeck made, specifically the day that he toured a facility?
I am in belief that there was a recording made that day due to the fact that parts of that recording was sent to me later, but none of the parts that were in reference to this, and I no longer had those to put in the record. But I was informed that Mr. Kusterbeck, the day we met, recorded our entire conversation in my office, and when I brought him over to Lovelady to see the facility, and as we discussed how the setup would be and those things, he recorded the entire conversation, and portions of those were shared, but I was not able to recover those to bring those tonight.
And while you're there, Princeton ISD, does sex ed class require an opt-in?
Yes, we do not teach sex ed to the students without parents opting into those.
If there are no more questions from the If there are no more questions from the board members, this concludes this proceeding. We will now prepare for the next proceeding. Following the next proceeding, the board will convene an executive session with its attorney to deliberate. Following those deliberations, we will reconvene an open session to take action, if any.
Do we need this for the next one?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Welcome. My name is Cindy Darland. I'm the president of the board. For the record, today is June 12th, 2024. The time is 9:37, 38? Okay. The board is convened for the purpose of hearing a Level 3 grievance hearing brought forward by Color Splash Out in accordance with board policies of GF Legal and GF Local. This proceeding will be transcribed to ensure that an accurate record is kept. Of course, this includes the portion of the proceedings in which the complainant and the administration present their statements. The board's consultation with its attorney will not be recorded. The parties are asked not to record the meeting. To confirm, is either party recording at this time?
No.
No. Oh, thank you. There you are. Okay. Let's see. For the record, each person is asked to state their name, reason for attendance, and relationship to the complainant, if applicable. We'll start with the board members. John?
John Campbell, School Board Trustee.
Julia Schmoker, School Board Trustee and Secretary.
Dwayne Kelly, School Board Trustee, Vice President.
Cindy Darland, Board President.
Tim Davis, I'm counsel to the board.
Carlos Cuellar, School Board Trustee.
Starla Sharp, School Board Trustee.
Now can we have all the board council and all the councils introduce themselves?
Lucas Henry, I'll be making the presentation on behalf of the administration. I have with me Superintendent McIntyre and co-counsel Nick Wilson.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sherelle Lett. I'm an attorney at the ACLU of Texas. We are representing Color Splash Out and their founder, Reverend Yadi Martinez Reina.
Thank you. At this time, I remind all participants to please avoid talking when another person is speaking so that the transcript will accurately reflect the proceedings. Further, please endeavor to make your oral statements as clear and complete as possible. Remember that the transcription will not reflect gestures or any other forms of nonverbal communication. This hearing will be conducted as an administrative presentation in accordance with applicable policies and laws. In accordance with Board Policy GF Local, the hearing will be limited to the issues and documents submitted prior to the hearing. No new evidence, appeal issues, or relief shall be presented. This is not a formal legal proceeding, and no strict rules of evidence or procedure will apply. Given the allegations against the superintendent, the board chose to advance this matter to a Level 3 hearing pursuant to Board Policy GF Legal and GF Local. Each party will have an opportunity to make its presentation to the board. The parties will not be permitted to cross-examine each other. There will be an opportunity for the members of the board to ask questions of counsel, the parties, or any witnesses. However, the members of the board are not subject to questioning. Consistent with Board Policy GF Local, Color Splash Out will present its argument based on the record first. This presentation will be followed by the administration side. Both the complainant and the administration will be allotted 10 minutes to make their presentations. We will then close that portion of the hearing at that time. I remind all parties that simply because time is afforded does not mean it has to be used. The board appreciates brevity in presentations. If during the course of the hearing confidential personal information under Chapter 21 of the Texas Education Code is presented to the board, those individuals who are not entitled to access the information will be excused from the hearing for the presentation. I ask that the parties and the board attempt to keep any references to confidential personal information until the conclusion of the hearing so that the board can minimize the number of times it is required to excuse participants from the meeting. The record will include the presentation of the personal information to the board and, if requested, will be redacted as required by law. Do the parties have any questions regarding this procedure?
No.
Thank you. Now that we've reviewed the policies and procedures for the hearing, it is time to determine the qualifications of the board members to hear and consider this matter. If any member of the board feels that he or she cannot hear or consider this matter, the board member should so state at this time and not participate in the hearing. Let the record reflect that each member of the board present has indicated that he or she can consider the information presented at this hearing and make a decision in a fair and impartial manner. Members of the board, I'm going to ask that you hold your questions, if any, until the conclusion of the presentation by both sides. Who will be making the presentation on behalf of Color Splash Out?
Sherelle Lett, attorney for ACLU, Texas. And I'll allow Reverend Martinez-Reyna to speak as well.
Thank you. You have 10 minutes to make your presentation to the board. Do you wish to reserve a portion of that as allotted time for rebuttal?
Yes, I would like to have a minute for rebuttal if I have any left.
1 minute?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Now you may proceed with your presentation.
Good evening. My name is Sherelle Lett, and I'm an attorney at the ACLU of Texas. We are here tonight to represent Color Splash Out and its founder, Reverend Yadi Martinez-Reyna. On May 20th, 2024, Superintendent McIntyre sent Reverend Martinez-Reyna a letter stating that they and Color Splash Out were permanently banned from renting property and canceling their Princeton Pride 2024 event. Due to a typo, Color Splash Out was accused of violating district policies for allegedly soliciting obscene and vulgar material in their vendor application for its upcoming event, as well as giving inaccurate contact information and associating with another LGBTQ+ organization no longer in good standing under district facility use policies. Despite Reverend Martinez-Reyna's repeated attempts to communicate with the district to address any potential concerns, the district permanently banned them without giving them the opportunity to remedy the typo in their vendor application. Tonight, we ask the district to reverse its decision to permanently ban Color Splash Out and Reverend Yadi Martinez-Reyna from using Princeton ISD facilities. In a moment, I will explain why the district's actions violate both the U.S. and Texas constitutions, but before I do, I would like to give Reverend Martinez-Reyna the opportunity to speak to you all directly about their organization and its contributions to this community.
Thank you. Can you hear me? All right, great. I'm the Reverend Yari Martinez Reina. I'm an ordained United Church of Christ clergy with a Master's in Divinity from Bright Divinity School at Texas Christian University, along with numerous certifications. I'm a pastor at First UCC and Second Life and a member of Living Faith Covenant Church in Dallas, Texas. As a clergy, I am diligent to embody grace, respect, integrity, and equity. Over the past 20-plus years, I have worked with young people in youth centers, congregations, and national platforms. 3 years ago, I founded Color Splash Out. We're dedicated to seeking ways to face the challenges in our communities, such as suicide or harmful behaviors, by providing a space to see, hear, and acknowledge our people. As a school district, you know of the number of young people that your own school has sent to ISS or DAP due to vaping, drug use, fighting, and even engaging in sexual activity in your classrooms. We strive to empower and support young people in living authentic lives, not just existing. And our approach involves working alongside numerous and various organizations across the nation. We are not a religious organization, but rather a nonprofit that upholds and models respect for all religions and for all religion, and even those with no religion or religious affiliation. This is what we believe is loving our neighbor. It is imperative that you realize that I did not come to you as a clergy member looking to rent space for a youth group. Instead, I came to you with integrity, seeking the same grace and respect that you seek of those you serve. And I invite you to set aside your bias and consider the impact of your actions on the LGBTQ plus youth that you and I both serve in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. The district's unreasonable and disproportionate enforcement of its policies against Color Splash Out violates both the U.S. and Texas constitutions in at least 3 ways. First, through viewpoint and content discrimination. Second, as an impermissible time, place, and manner restriction. And third, as an unconstitutional prior restraint. First, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution has long forbidden the government from regulating speech in ways that favor some views or ideas at the expense of others. And the Texas Constitution has been interpreted to provide even broader free speech protections. Unfortunately, the district's banning of Color Splash Out contains critical hallmarks of viewpoint discrimination. After consistent communication with the district, Color Splash Out's Pride event was approved and scheduled to take place here at Lovelady High School on June 29, 2024, the 55th anniversary of the Stonewall Riots. For those who don't know, the Stonewall Riots were a protest in support of LGBTQ plus rights and the start of what the LGBTQ plus community now celebrates as Pride. The Princeton Pride event came to be because Color Splash Out chose to fulfill its mission by providing a safe space for LGBTQ plus youth by filling the void left after PTX Diverse's annual Pride event was canceled by the district. PTX Diverse and Color Splash Out are 2 completely separate organizations, run and organized by different groups of people who happen to serve the same community. As an organization who had never hosted a Pride event, Color Splash Out copied the vendor application PTX Diverse used the year prior because it included language that was previously used with no concerns expressed by the district. Now, Color Splash Out agrees with the district that it should have removed the sentence in its vendor's application mistakenly referring to PTX Diverse and a sentence about 18-plus items for sale, since all items at Princeton Pride will be family-friendly. The line in question states, vendors may have adult/18-plus items for sale, but must be covered/hidden from plain view and labeled with an adult/18-plus sign. This issue could have easily been resolved had Color Splash Out been given the opportunity to fix the error. Color Splash Out never intended to allow adult items to be sold at their Pride event. In fact, the district's decision to permanently ban Color Splash Out for this typo without giving them a chance to even explain it suggests that Color Splash Out is being banned for reasons other than the typo. Just recently, the Supreme Court unanimously reaffirmed that a government entity's threat of legal sanctions to achieve the suppression of disfavored speech violates the First Amendment. and that is exactly what's happening here. The district is disproportionately and unreasonably enforcing its policies against an LGBTQ+ organization because it disagrees with its views. This is evidenced by naming Color Splash Out's casual association with PTX Diverse as a reason for permanently banning them from renting district facilities, never cashing Color Splash Out's facility use payment, indicating that they never intended to allow Color Splash Out's Pride event to take place, and not giving Color Splash Out any chance to explain or fix the typo on its vendor application, especially as we heard earlier today, church groups in Princeton have been given the opportunity to fix errors in their material. Further, this district's accusations that Color Splash Out planned to allow obscene speech at Pride does not alleviate these viewpoint discrimination concerns. While it's true that obscenity is not protected speech under the First Amendment, obscenity has a specific legal definition that the language in Color Splash Out's application does not rise to. This language also fails to even rise to the definition of vulgarity under the district's own policies. Second, school districts, like all government entities, may only regulate the time, place, and manner of speech if the regulation is 1, content neutral, 2, narrowly tailored to serve a significant government interest, and 3, leaves open ample alternative communications. The district's regulation of Color Splash Out speech is none of these things. The district's actions are clearly content-based, and entirely banning this event is not narrowly tailored, nor does it leave open alternative channels of communication. Third and finally, the district's ban of Color Splash Out and Reverend Martinez Reyna from renting district property based only on hypothetical speculation about what kind of vendors might sign up for this event is an unconstitutional prior restraint on speech, because the speech they are punishing this organization for had not occurred and had not been planned to occur. For these reasons, we ask that you reverse the district's decision to permanently ban Reverend Yadi Martinez Reyna and Color Splash Out from renting district property. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 10 minutes to make your presentation on behalf of the administration. Do you wish to reserve a portion of your allotted time for any rebuttal?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Lucas Henry, and I will be making the presentation on behalf of the Princeton ISD administration. Just for a point of clarification, there will be redundancies in this presentation that coincide with the prior presentation, and that's because we have two separate records being made for two separate grievances. The complainant in this particular grievance is Color Splash Out. Color Splash Out also sought to host an event on Saturday, June 29th at the high school, Lovelady High School. The allegations by the complainant are that the district's administration's decision to cancel the event was arbitrary and unconstitutional in violation of the First Amendment, and they've requested the remedy of being permitted to hold their event and having the restrictions on future events lifted. As discussed during the record of the prior grievance, this board has duly passed a policy, GKD regulation, after much debate and much consideration of community input. GKD regulation is included in Exhibit 5 of this binder for this particular grievance. This regulation outlines the rules that lessees must follow when renting district facilities. And particular to this grievance, an important part of GKD regulation is paragraph number 1, which talks about lessees and refers to footnote number 1, and says that the term lessee, as used throughout this policy, applies to the individual and group renting a facility and any attendees and or participants that access district property during the lessee's rental period. That means it's the lessee's responsibility, in this case Color Splash Out's responsibility, to ensure that those that attend their event will be in compliance with the policy. That would include vendors. Again, rule number 31 in GKD regulation outlines the standards by which lessees must operate when they rent district facilities. And included in Rule 31E is both the obscenity rule and the vulgarity rule. I believe there's been, in this presentation and the last, a lot of emphasis placed on the obscenity provision. Obscenity does have a specific statutory definition, and that statutory definition is a pretty high standard. To be declared obscene under a penal code violation, it would have to be pretty obscene. Vulgarity is a little bit different. The definition of vulgarity in the policy says activities or materials that are obscene, vulgar, or otherwise inappropriate for the age and maturity of the audience. That's very different from a penal code standard. It gives the school district the ability to evaluate what a lessee is going to do or has done and determine whether that activity or material is appropriate for the age and maturity of the intended audience. And again, failure to comply with that policy or any of the provisions in GKD regulation can result in cancellation of a rental, revocation of a rental, or denial of future rentals. This, again, is not a case about discrimination, retaliation, or viewpoint. It's about enforcing a neutral, non-discriminatory policy that was passed by this board. In fact, the administration has not banned pride events. It has not banned pride symbols. It has not banned LGBTQ viewpoints. It has simply applied GKD regulation to very specific instances in which the regulation was not followed. In this case, the complainant is correct that a consequence was issued for the vendor application that was put in place by the complainants for their event. The first violation was that the application stated that PTX diverse staff would be responsible for overseeing the appropriateness of the event. Color Splash Out maintains that this was a typo. However, it could be reasonably viewed by the administration as an obvious attempt to circumvent the consequences that had been assigned to Princeton TX Diverse for its violations of the policy. In other words, have another person submit the application, but have PTX Diverse be in charge of the event. This reasonable conclusion is also supported by PTX Diverse's social media post, which is included in Exhibit 10, which states, "Princeton Pride will live on thanks to hosts Color Splash Out. We are honored to be vending at and sponsoring Pride this year." Again, resulting in the reasonable belief of the administration that a group that had just been given a consequence of not being able to use district facilities was using another organization's name to sponsor an event. The second violation included in the vendor application, although it stated that vendors were to keep messaging PG-13 rated, it also stated vendors may have adult/18 plus items for sale, but must be covered/hidden from plain view and labeled with an adult 18 plus sign. Again, it's maintained that this was a typo. However, it was in there, and the cat is essentially out of the bag once the vendor application was released. Although the complainants try to say that their application contained language to prohibit obscene, offensive, or adult items, the application was at best contradictory because the very next sentence explicitly allowed them under certain circumstances. The application did not say what was meant by 18 plus items, but if it has to be covered or hidden from view, it was the administration's reasonable belief that these items would not be appropriate for the school environment, age and maturity of the audience, and therefore in violation of GKD regulation. Again, the First Amendment gives complainants the right to express their beliefs, even if those beliefs are unpopular with some. However, the Supreme Court has been clear that school districts may impose restrictions on speech that are reasonable in light of the forum. These cases are cited in GKD Legal, which is in tab 14, and have even been cited in complainant's complaint. Given that this was on school property, this event was to occur on school property, and minor students were the intended audience, the district adopted and enforced reasonable regulations and policies for using district facilities. Superintendent McIntyre simply applied the policy that the board passed in a manner that he believes is consistent with the policy's language. If you believe this policy was incorrectly applied in this circumstance, I would ask that you provide guidance on applying the policy in the future. However, I believe Superintendent McIntyre applied the policy properly and in a manner consistent with the district's understanding of the law, district rules. Again, importantly, this does not ban pride events or LGBT groups from using district facilities. It simply applied these policies to the groups at issue in this particular circumstance, under these sets of circumstances. Therefore, the administration asks that you deny the complaint and deny all the requested relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Color splash out. At this time, you've reserved 1 minute for rebuttal. You may make your rebuttal presentation on behalf of the complainants. The board secretary will indicate to you when you have approximately no time left, because it's only 1 minute. You may proceed.
Hello. I just briefly want to make a couple of points. So the vendor application could have been changed had the superintendent or any members of the district or the board come to Color Splash Out and ask them about what they meant by 18 plus items. And additionally, the line in the vendor application that's being targeted as obscene or vulgar, it's not vulgar because age appropriate for the audience means that it is age appropriate for the people that will be seeing it. The audience in the line is 18 plus, and only people that are 18 plus would be allowed to view those items. This policy is being disproportionately enforced. PTXD was not involved in the planning or organization of this event. They were only supporting, and they were not the only vendor or sponsor for this event. They are just the only ones that have a bad track record. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, are there any questions we need to address?
Would you like us at the podium for questions?
Please, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll do my best to consolidate all these. This one is for Color Splash Out. Why did you instruct vendors to cover items that were 18 plus?
For starters, the application was copied from PTX Diverse because in the event before, after they met with McIntyre, they were not asked to remove anything from there. So we believe that that application had not been flagged as wrong or bad, and so we copied it. Our team copied it. It's that simple.
Was Princeton PTX Diverse, were they going to police any of the vendors at the event?
No, our team did. In fact, we had volunteers that were signing up to make sure that no policies were being broken or being, even, they were all going to be around. The thing is, we weren't even given time or the ability to show you this. or change this.
And who decides what's age appropriate?
I think that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No,
I thought that was direct.
I didn't. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep going. I apologize.
I apologize. Superintendent McIntyre, I think in this case, read the vendor application and made a determination that 18 plus items, again, which it was vague about what those mean, however, would not be age appropriate for the event. And I want to note a contradiction here. In the presentation, it was stated both that that line was not supposed to be in the application, but also that, well, those items wouldn't even be available for somebody under 18 because they'd be covered. And that, in the administration's point of view, is a contradictory statement.
Okay. The next question that I apologize, I stepped on your time there. Who decides what's age appropriate?
So for us, we believe that the signage stating 18 and plus deems that that is the audience that would be viewing the items. Also, I would like to respond to say that this was not intended to be in the vendor application, and Color Splash Out never intended to have any adult items at their event. What we're arguing is that even if we are dismissing that argument that Color Splash Out did not intend for that language to be included, that the language does not violate any of the board's policies.
This is a question for the district. What's the standard policy on checks for deposits?
Superintendent McIntyre, can you answer that question? Policy on checks for deposits?
For deposits for events.
I don't deal with that directly. Can you be more specific in what you're looking for?
Well, there was some discussion about the Color Splash Out group, their deposit check was never cashed. Is there a policy on that one way or the other? And is there an explanation for that one way or the other?
I'm sorry, I cannot speak to that. I don't know what that situation would be. I would assume that we typically would cash those, but that's an assumption. So,
for Color Splash Out, are there any members of Color Splash Out's board that are a part of or affiliated with PTX Diverse?
No.
There's some Facebook posts in the record, and there are a few posts by PTX Diverse where that organization was taking vendor applications for this event. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's exhibit or tab, I believe, 5, and then 10, is that what you said? And then also 10 as well. Oh, 10 of the last record.
I don't have the last record up here with me, but social media posts are exhibit 3 in this particular record.
That's right. Yeah, and so this question refers to those social media posts and then exhibit 10 from the last record.
I believe it's in Exhibit 3 of this record as well. Are you referring to a post from Princeton TX Diverse that says, "Thanks to the amazing people at Color Splash Out, Pride is happening again this year. If you're interested in being a vendor, here's the form to sign up"?
No, sir. Those are in, I believe, Exhibit 3 of this record. I'm referring to, and I'll walk it over just so you all can see it.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll find it here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, it's
What?
the post that reads, "It's officially official. Princeton Pride will live on thanks to host Color Splash Out. We are honored to be vending and sponsoring Princeton Pride this year. We are so thankful, our friends in Princeton LGBTQ community. We refuse to let this event be shoved away and instead stepped up to take it on as their own. If you're interested in being a vendor, please message us for their application form."
And then the posts at Exhibit 3 of this record also include that same message, it looks like. Is that correct? In several different posts. In other words, it looks like more than one post.
Yes.
Possibly 3 if I'm reading these screenshots correctly.
Yes.
So there is at least evidence in this record that PTX Diverse was taking vendor applications.
No. This caption states that they would be sending people Color Splash Out's vendor application form that would go to Color Splash Out's event email address.
So they were soliciting vendors.
They were promoting the event, so I guess you could say they were soliciting vendors.
And then they also tagged it with Lovelady High School. Is that correct?
Yes.
As I read it, that, it says that we are honored to be vending and sponsoring Princeton Pride this year. So it sounds like they were going to plan on sponsoring alongside and vending. And she did say that there were several sponsors and several vendors, but they were actually not permitted to sponsor or vendor anything in our schools.
Well, this event was approved before PTX Diverse was banned from vending.
But not from sponsoring.
I don't believe that they were banned from sponsoring. I think they were just banned from renting at this point.
I believe that's the same thing, sorry.
I believe that sponsoring would just be providing financial support for the event and promoting the event.
I believe you said in your presentation that Princeton TX, or PTX Diverse, was not involved in planning or organizing this event.
Correct.
That was correct?
Yes.
How did Color Splash Out even get a copy of the application to copy for its own application?
They asked for it. They planned to host the Pride event on their own, and once they decided to do that within their own organization, they asked PTX Diverse for the material that they used to apply and for their vendor application, because PTX Diverse had been hosting a Pride event annually for several years prior to this.
Has Color Splash Out accepted a vendor application from a vendor that was solicited by PTX Diverse?
Every Pride event across North Texas shares the list among everyone for vendors. That's how we get people to come out that probably sponsor someone else and might want to also sponsor this event. So it wasn't not only from Princeton Diverse that we got this sponsor list. We get it from Frisco, we get it from McKinney, we get it from all over the place.
But it could be that some of those people were solicited by Princeton PTX Diverse.
They support and sponsor events for the same communities. So while people may have seen the event posted on PTX Diverse's socials, they also could have just seen it on Color Splash Out's socials and other organizations that support Color Splash Out. PTX Diverse was not the only organization sponsoring or vending for this event.
This is for the district. Does it violate any board policy to have material that's classified as 18 plus on campuses?
In and of itself, I mean, obviously, that's a case-by-case basis. But in this case, there's a reasonable belief by the administration that if the material was so 18 plus that it would need to be covered by obstructed and not in view, that yes, that would run afoul of the policy of GKD regulation of age appropriateness. And again, the district is not, the administration is not at every event to police every item that is brought to an event. But when it recognizes that there's a great potential for something like this to go wrong, and in this case it's explicitly stated in the vendor application, I think that the administration has an obligation to act upon that, and that's what occurred in this case.
Are there any more questions? Are there any more questions from the board members? If there are no more questions from the board members, this concludes this proceeding. Thank you. At this time, the board will recess to executive session with its attorney to deliberate and consider the information presented. No decision will be made in executive session. Following the board's discussion, the board will reconvene the meeting in open session. Now I need a motion to go into executive session, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Wayne made the motion. John seconded. It is now 10:19. Executive session to confer with its attorney. In closed session under Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074. We will then reconvene into open session to take action, if appropriate. Thank you. The board is now reconvening in open session after hearing the level 3 grievances. The time is now 11:36. In accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, any action regarding this matter must be taken in open session. Do I have a motion on the Level 3 complaint filed by Mr. Custerbeck in Princeton, Texas Diverse?
I make a motion that I move that the board deny the Level 3 grievance filed by Mr. Custerbeck and Princeton Diverse, thereby denying their requested relief.
Dwayne made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
John seconded. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Now, I don't see where it is. I need a motion for the level 3 complaint filed by, this is not on here. I know he wrote it down for me, but it's not here. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Color Splash. So,
I move that the board deny part of and grant part of the grievance filed by Color Splash Out and request relief on the issue as follows. Color Splash Out be eligible after a year with provisions that they be not be affiliated with the Princeton, Texas Diverse, and no inappropriate material at their future events.
okay, Carlos made a motion to deny, but with stipulations, and Starla seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. The motion fails 2-4. Is there another motion on the floor? Oh.
This one right
There it is. I've got all these papers.
I make a motion. I move that the board deny the level 3 grievance filed by Color Splash Out, thereby denying its request for relief.
Dwayne made a motion to deny. Is there a second? John seconds. All in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. The motion passes 4-2. Mr. Custerbeck and Princeton, Texas Diverse, you will receive written notice. The board has voted to deny the grievance filed by Mr. Custerbeck and also by Color Splash Out. Color Splash Out, you will also receive written confirmation of this decision.